Hello, welcome. Oh, take a seat. There's no reason to be nervous. I'm Mary Boleyn, but I assume you already know that. Of course you do. Oh, you really shouldn't be worried at all. I might be a sister of a queen, but as you can tell by my humble abode, I'm not quite so high and mighty as all that. So you're a relation to... Oh, well, isn't that exciting? So you're from my mother's side, the Howards. That means you have a little bit of royal blood in you. Be careful when you go to court, not to mention that. Well, you see, the king doesn't exactly like to be reminded how royal the Howards are, that we descend directly from, actually, Henry II, or even further than that. Yes, John the Conqueror. Well, it's no matter. To be honest, I don't pay much attention to the family history, but my father, yes, you've met my father, Thomas Boleyn. He's a very ambitious man, and from a young age, he really put it deeply into our minds that we did have, some higher places to get to in life. I, for one, have never been the ambitious sort, as I'm sure you can tell. My brother and sister, however, well, they're a little different than me, and that's okay. We are all family in the end, and family should stick together. So tell me, you'll be going to court soon to be a lady in waiting. Well, I'm so happy that you stopped by me and my husband's home on your way to court. You'll have to write to me and tell me how it is. Well, we do hear rumors and gossip out here in the country, and to be honest, I don't miss court per se. You must know that, unfortunately, the king and queen, my sister Anne, have banished me from court. Yes, well, that's okay. I really do love living a simple life here with my husband. Yes, did you meet him? Sir William Stafford. He's a knight. He is a bit of not quite lower birth, but maybe not as high and mighty as some of the other men and gentlemen you'll meet at court, those in the inner circle of the king, but I think he's wonderful. I don't think anyone in the whole world could love me better. But that's neither here nor there. You've come to ask for some advice about court, right? Well, I would just say be as humble as you can. Be careful not to upset the king or the queen. Between me and you, they both have a bit of a temper. They can easily go off in just a moment. Lucky for me, I never really ignited the king's temper. We got along quite well. Well, supposedly, or society says that we shouldn't talk about these things openly, but I've always laughed in the face of society and what should and shouldn't be done and what's proper or not proper. So I don't mind telling you a little bit of my secrets. I suppose they're not really secrets. Well, shall I start from the beginning? Well, as you know, my mother was Elizabeth Howard. She passed away when I was very young, and now my stepmother has, well, not really raised me, but she's done her best to be a good mother. My stepmother doesn't exactly approve of all that I've done with my life, and I'm not really allowed to go to Hever Castle. I'm most certainly banished from court. They didn't quite banish me from my home, but it's pretty much implied that I shouldn't go there. But truly, it doesn't upset me that much. I'm very happy with my children and my husband, who I love so dearly. But I'm getting off topic. So, like I was saying, my mother was Elizabeth Howard, and she was the sister of, the Duke, the Duke of Suffolk, who was also a Howard. It's a very long, noble line, with lots of dukes and connections to the throne, to be honest. Again, never ever mention this at court. Well, as you know, the king's father, Henry VII, he really had very little royal blood in him, or so they say. I mean, his only claim to nobility was through his mother. Well, it was Henry VII, his mother, Margaret. She was a Beaufort. Please excuse my pronunciation. She was a Beaufort, which was from the lineage of the, well, bastards from the Duke John. Yes, exactly. He never became king, but he was the son of a king. And him and his mistress, who he did later marry. So there is some royal blood, but it's not much. And as you know, it was at the Battle of Bosworth, yes, where Henry VII was able to kill Richard III. And Henry VII says he's from the Lancaster line. I mean, of course, Henry VIII, our current king, he does have royal blood, for certain, from his mother, Elizabeth of York. Yes, she was the daughter of King Edward IV. See, I did pay attention a bit in my history lessons. But really, we shouldn't talk of such things. I'm always talking and getting in trouble. I guess in that sense it's best that I'm not at court currently. But I'm getting, again, all over the place. So I grew up quite happily. I had quite a nice childhood. I grew up with my sister Anne Boleyn, who is now the Queen of England, and also with my brother George. They both were so clever. And even though I was the oldest, I was often left out of their games. We were very good friends. We lived close by at Hever to Thomas Wyatt and his sister, Mary Wyatt, also my name. We would all play together as children, but Thomas and George would always go off, and Anne would trail along behind them, performing little masks. And like I said, always so clever. I didn't quite understand all their jokes or wit, but I was still happy. Then at around the age of, I would say I was about 14, maybe 15, but that's when I was so lucky to be chosen to be one of the ladies in waiting to Princess Mary. Yes, the king's own sister, Princess Mary, not his daughter, well, his illegitimate daughter. Frankly, I think poor Mary Tudor should still be in the line of succession. I know I should think that my niece Elizabeth should be first in line, but I really feel for poor Catherine. Oh my, once again, I'm getting off topic. That does happen with me sometimes. So, like I was saying, Princess Mary Tudor, the king's youngest sister, she was sent to France to marry the king, who was very old. I was fairly younger than Princess Mary, but I felt such pity for her that she had to marry such an old man. I mean, not to say that you can't fall in love with an old man. I am the number one believer in love and affection. But I went with her as part of her party as a lady in waiting, and the French court was fabulous. Oh, I loved the French court. I mean, their fashions were incredible, the music, the art. Sadly, though, for Princess Mary, shortly after she was married, the king did pass away, and since Princess Mary was not with child, the king's son-in-law, Francois, he ascended to the throne, him and his wife, who was the daughter of the king. Yes, in France, the laws are a bit different than in England. In England, a woman can be queen and she can succeed to the throne, but in France, they don't allow that. Oh yes, it was so sad when the old king died, and Princess Mary did seem a little sad. She wore mourning clothes. At that time, Anne was more in her confidence. Yes, my younger sister Anne, at the time she was very young, probably one of the youngest maids in waiting or lady of honors to ever be sent to a foreign court. But Anne is, and was, and still is, very clever. So she was along as well, and she was more in the confidence of Princess Mary, who became Queen Mary, Queen of France. Now she was more not queen consort, more like Dowager Queen, or rather, she really wasn't the Queen of France anymore after he passed away. But she didn't stay sad for long. No, she married the handsome Charles Brandon. Yes, the Duke of Norfolk. Gosh, no, he is a handsome, handsome man. I never had the pleasure of knowing him carnally. But I did get to do some dances with him, and there was a little bit of flirtation. But he only had eyes for Princess Mary, and the same for her. So they secretly married in France. And then eventually, when they left France, I stayed, and I was a lady in waiting to Queen Joan, who was the wife of Francis. You can call him Francis or Francois, depending on the accent. Now, King Francois of France, well, yes, he was a very, very special man. Very licentious, lusty man, but I think a king should be lusty. And for that matter, there's nothing wrong with being lusty. Unfortunately, others may disagree, including my father and my sister and my brother, and really mostly everyone believes that I'm a bit too lusty myself. But I think there's nothing wrong with sharing pleasure and having pleasure. And, I enjoyed myself in France. I enjoyed the attention. I enjoyed, my liaison, so to speak. In fact, this lovely piece here, isn't it wonderful? I do live and dress fairly humbly nowadays, but this piece is very special. This was a gift from the King of France. Yes, we did have an affair. There's really no need for me to be so secretive about it. Everyone knows. It didn't bother me at all. It was short-lived. He enjoyed me, but some men like more of a chase, and I'm not much of a chaser. I'm free with my love if they're free with their love back to me, and again, I see no problem as long as everyone is happy and willing, but many in the court would disagree, so it's probably best once again that I'm banished from court. But I did enjoy the French court. I stayed there for quite some years, really enjoying myself. It didn't matter if it was a knight or a king or an ambassador or a courtier. I did what I would, and I very much enjoyed myself. In fact, the king, King Francois of France, King Francis? Francois. I never know how to say his name. I was in France for so long, French almost became my first language. But anyway, so he would call me his English mare, which some people took offense to. My sister Anne was so upset with me. She would always scold me, which I thought was quite funny since she was my younger sister. But she was always more serious than me. I think because of all my fun in France, it caused her to be quite cold and withholding. Men were very attracted to her. We're quite different, my sister and I. She calls me her milk and honey sister because of my pale skin and golden hair. Although I will say my hair has lost some of its golden luster in the years. Childbirth and time will do that to you. But yes, she called me her golden honey and gold sister, her honey and milk sister. But Anne is very dark-featured, as I'm sure you know. She has very dark hair. She's very pretty in her own way, though most people wouldn't call her the usual, sort of plump, voluptuous women that are seen as beautiful in this day and age. But I think Anne is very pretty. She has the most lovely eyes, dark and luminous. I think that's probably her best feature. I mean, it's what enchanted the king. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I quite enjoyed it. I didn't mind being called the English mare. I personally found the nickname funny and endearing, though others were offended on my behalf. But eventually my father was very upset with the way I was acting in France. The thing is, my father is very ambitious. In fact, many people at court whisper, usually scornfully, about us, the upstart Boleyns. And yes, my brother and sister and father are ambitious, but I've never been ambitious. This necklace I wear not because it's from a king or because it's rich and I feel powerful, but I think it's beautiful. I'm very sentimental. So I keep it, and I keep it close to my heart to remind me of the fun I had in France. But the thing is, I never really asked for favors. I never needed favors from the king or from any of the men who I became acquainted with over the years. I think pleasure is a gift all in of itself. That's how I feel. Of course, my family does not agree. So my father took me from France. But soon thereafter, I was about 19, entered the Queen, well, the old Queen, Queen Catherine of Aragon. May she rest in peace. I actually quite liked Catherine, and despite everything, I think Catherine even liked me. She was a very pious queen, very serious, and she could be cold and harsh, but I think she did have a kind heart. I mean, she actually helped me with my first marriage, though perhaps that was to get me away from the king. Oh yes, now I speak of Henry, King of England. Well, it's no secret that before Anne captured the king's attention, I was the mistress of the King of England. Well, he noticed me right away as soon as I joined the English court. I'm not very skilled at the lute or singing like Anne, but I'm a reasonable dancer, and it's usually my open and giving personality that draws men to me. I think they like that I don't ask for anything in return. I'm a giver, not a taker, unlike so many other women and men as well at court. Well, once I became a lady-in-waiting to Queen Catherine, the king noticed me, and we soon became lovers. It was a fun time. It was exciting. I loved the king, as I loved King Francis. The thing is, I love all of these men in my own way, and I enjoyed the attention he gave me. My father was very happy. He became master of the horse, and soon he started to work his way up. Though I never asked for any favor, my father enjoyed favor. He became an ambassador, the English ambassador to the court in France, and he became quite close and high in the king's circle. So he did, again, enjoy that. He even became an earl, which was very exciting for my father. Personally, I just enjoyed spending time with the king. We would dance and play games, and of course, I would retire to his room when he summoned me. I thought it was a fun, great time. Of course, I did feel a little badly because of Queen Catherine. The poor woman. She just couldn't seem to entice the king, and miscarriage after miscarriage, she couldn't provide the king with a son. So of course his eyes would stray. It's very natural. But I enjoyed my time in England. The court is just so much fun. And the king actually kept me as a mistress for quite some time. Even when I think he started to fall in love with my sister Anne, he still kept me with him. I think because I asked for nothing and it was just something easy for him. But I was very touched. And though I asked for nothing, I do have this. Anne doesn't know about this, actually. I think she might be a little jealous if she knew. Isn't this beautiful? When I first became the king's mistress, King Henry gave this to me. Yes, those are all real diamonds, set on pure gold. I do wear it sometimes, but to be honest, I keep it as a sentimental piece. I mean, it's so lovely and shiny, and at times my husband, William Stafford, he has urged me that perhaps we should sell it because money is a little tight around here. Luckily, though I am banished from court, Anne still sends me some money, and it does help, but we live very humbly out here in the country, as you can see. And I suppose if times ever got hard enough, I might have to sell some of my jewels. But this one to me is just so precious. It reminds me of the king, and I can smile fondly. Of course, now the king kind of denies my presence. He likes to pretend we never had an affair at all, which doesn't hurt my feelings one bit. In fact, when he and Anne were still trying to get the divorce, the great matter, the king's secret matter, which was not a secret at all, well, he did indeed send to the Pope for a dispensation because he was my lover and I was his, and I'm sisters with Anne. It's too close of a relation, so it could cause a problem for them to marry. But I do believe they got the proper dispensation. Personally, I stay out of the politics. But isn't that just so lovely? Oh, yes, this makes me so happy. Let me put it carefully aside. So I was the king's mistress, but he did tire of me, and that was fine. Before he did tire of me, though, he arranged a marriage. Well, rather, I arranged the marriage. There was a very fine gentleman named William Carey, and he was very besotted with me, or so I believe. I did love him very much at the time, and Queen Catherine was the one who actually pushed for the marriage. She, I think, was happy to have me out of the king's way. However, I did stay a mistress of the king for quite a few years. William Carey was often away from court, and some people looked down on him. They felt that, he was a cuckold. He was just allowing his wife, to sleep with the king, and in fact, he was forbidden to sleep with me at first in case I became pregnant, so we would know whether it was the king's or not. I did become pregnant. I had 2 children with William Carey. Some people wonder if it's actually William's child or the king's, but there's some secrets I think a woman should keep to herself. But I do love my children. Yes, and some people are a little suspicious because my son's name with William Carey is Henry Carey, and they think I named that after the king because the king is the father, but people love to gossip and speculate. My daughter Catherine also, from Will Carey, is a joy as well. I do love my children, and as you can probably tell, I am pregnant with my 3rd child, this one with my current husband, William Stafford, who I love more than I think I've loved anyone in this world, except for my children, of course. Well, unfortunately, when the sweating sickness swept across our country, our great kingdom, my husband did pass away. I was very sad, but after a few years, I did meet Sir William Stafford, and he was just so charming, and he truly loves me for me. Of course, our marriage did lead to me being banished from court, as you might know. But I told them love was everything to me. I'd much rather marry for love and beg for my bread than be a queen of great, accomplishment. No offense to my sister Anne. And I know that my darling Will Stafford, my husband, he would much rather marry me for love than strive to be a king. So in that way, we're very happy. I did, however, talk to Cromwell a few times. Yes, Cromwell, you'll see him at court. He's quite a powerful man. Maybe not as powerful as old Wolsey was. But I did ask Cromwell, can you please speak to the king, speak to the queen, speak to my father, because it was hard for me to communicate with them. Well, the thing is, Stafford and I married in secret. We weren't sure that the king or queen would agree because he is of lower birth than I am, the sister of a queen, so that's supposed to make me important. He did elevate my sister before they married to the Marquis of Pembroke, which made the whole family royal, but I've never felt royal, and I love my husband Will, so I'm happy with how things are. But when I showed up at court to see my sister, and she saw I was pregnant and had married without her consent, she was very angry. I think that she might have been a little angry also because I was pregnant. And I believe I have a bonny boy in here. Well, my sister does have her one daughter, Elizabeth, but she's had many miscarriages, just like Catherine. And she's really quite worried, and I don't blame her. I can't help but think, and this is between me and you, that maybe the problem is not my sister, nor was it ever Catherine, but with the king himself. Of course, you can't repeat that. That would be treasonous, and I'd rather not go to the tower and, be put on the block. No, I would like to live a happy life with my children in the country and my husband, who I love so much. But I've been talking your ear off, haven't I? I'm sorry. I just sometimes start to tell my story, and I can talk and talk and talk. But I think you'll do great at court. I really am so happy that more of the Howards are going to court. Yes, there's quite a lot in our family. Madge is, yes, well, we all call her Madge. She's already a lady in waiting to the Queen, as is Jane Seymour, who I think is quite lovely, but my sister hates her. And my brother thinks the Seymours are worse upstarts than our family, the Boleyns. But I think life's too short to worry about ambitions and jewels and money and power. I think love and happiness is what's most important. That's why I'm happy even out here in the country with my children and my loving, wonderful husband. That's not to say you won't enjoy court. You're young and you're very pretty, and I'm sure you'll have a good time there. Yes, just be careful though. Do be careful. Try to stay away from politics and religion. As you know, Lutheranism is rising and spreading in our country. And although the king is now head of the church, there's still a lot of Catholics at court, and most of the country is still Catholic. So it's a strange middle line that we're wavering. So if you can avoid that, you should. Yes, and in front of my sister Anne, she does anger easily. Try not to attract the eye of the king. He's already been unfaithful to my sister, I've heard, and I know that she's aware, and it makes her very angry. So if you can, try not to attract attention from the king. There's plenty of handsome courtiers at court, though. Sir Francis Brandon. There's also Thomas Wyatt is still at court. He finally was allowed to return. The king sent him away for a bit because Wyatt, as so many other men, are in love with my sister Anne. I mean, I think men can't help falling in love with Anne. She's so witty and poised. But there's lots of wonderful men at court, and I hope you can have fun like I did. But if you'd rather be more pious, that's okay too. Just be careful with what you say, because the court can be a dangerous place as much as it can be fun. But I think you'll do fine. And do please write me. My sister no longer writes me, nor does anyone from my family, unfortunately. So I only get to hear bits and pieces and gossip as they make it to the country. So I'd love to have a friend at court. Give my love to my family, even if they won't speak to me at the moment. I think eventually this will all blow over, and we'll all be a happy family again. At least I hope. In the time, I'll just be happy where I am. Well, it was lovely to meet you. Feel free to take some ale in the kitchen before you go. Goodbye.